I'd be all right. My life would be complete with a hat. Quincy's supposed to be here right at 6. We're going to open with Quincy because he's got a coach. Oh, look at this. You've been holding out on us. You've been holding out.
I'm getting ready to order something. I got that whole deal with BSN, and I put an order in, and then he got busy and sent it to me, and then he and I talked a couple weeks ago, and he said, well, send it back in, and we'll get it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
We should have him soon.
Perfect. All right, we're good. I'm good now.
What time are we starting here?
Like in a minute.
You guys, you ready? Top of the hour.
I was going to say, before the rain really, the kickoff's at 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took off, we didn't get him.
Quincy, he's right there.
He's on the south field, so look at him.
Yeah, well, we'll get him another time. Boy, this is so much better.
Yeah, yeah. Compared to
I
before.
can hear you guys.
Yeah.
I know. Last week it was
I mean, I was
hard.
like, I was literally
and then there
trying
was
to.
a delay.
Yeah.
It was like, whoo.
And that's why I had to take mine off because I'm like waiting on Frank. You know, I'm seeing him talking.
I was guessing at what, I was guessing at what you guys. Oh. Right.
Oh.
Welcome everybody to the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show tonight as we come your way again for week 2 of high school football in West Virginia. But tonight we're at college football here at University of Charleston Stadium where the UC Golden Eagles take on the Yellow Jackets of West Virginia State. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie as well. College venue tonight. This is always a busy high school stadium, and it will be again this year. But tonight, the college game, new turf on the turf. What do you think about playing on turf, Carl?
Well, I hated it in the beginning, but it was exciting. You know, the first time I ever played at Lately Field, it was turf. It was the first time we'd had turf field, North-South game in 1979. It was like new, but then all of a sudden it came fast, and then after I got used to it, I go to Marshall, Fairfield Stadium, and then after a while it's like, man, turf can be tough. But the new turf now, this kind of turf is soft. It's soft. It's not the old, like, green concrete. This is soft, and it gives, and that makes it a whole lot safer.
This is field turf. It's not AstroTurf.
Right.
And it looks good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
But I'm not a turf guy, to be honest with you. But this, for a municipal stadium like this that gets a lot of use, you need turf. You don't need grass.
Right. And from a woman's perspective, most women, or I shouldn't say this, but we're the ones responsible for laundry. So we're pretty thankful for turf. I will say that probably.
Well, you know, we practice, our youth football program practices at Oaks Field. And, of course, it's old Oaks Field. It's, you know, there's no resodding or anything. It's the same old grass that we played at back in the day. And when it rains, it's going to get muddy. And once it gets muddy and the grass is torn up, then you just keep tearing it up. Right. You know, and you got a middle school game there tonight. We'll be back there on Friday and practice there. And so it's just going to be bad. The great thing about field turf, it always looks good.
Now, we do a lot of rivalry games. And we know the rivalry games in high school around our state. This is somewhat of a rivalry because the two schools are close geographically. But I don't know that you sense the intensity that you do for some of the high school rivalries. Carl, you've coached this series. What do you think?
I know when we first played, you know, we first played UC when they got football program, and it became kind of an intense thing. But I think it's kind of just died out over the years because there's just so many other teams in the conference. And again, I think the kids know each other different than how it used to be.
They run into each other.
They run into each other. They hang out. They're friends. So it's kind of like they play against each other, and the rivalry kind of dies. You would expect this to be a heated rivalry, but because it's so close, these kids know each other. You know, some of them played at the same high school, and they're just on different teams. And it's just – they just come out and just play like a regular game.
I would think probably with the alumni, the older alumni, this is still more of a rivalry for them than it is for the kids out there playing the game. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, you know.
For the bragging rights.
Right.
I think it goes up a notch tonight. I mean, for most of the last few years, UC's kind of dominated this series. But last year, in Institute, the state took it to them pretty good and started turning things around a little bit. And I think they're favored here again tonight. So tonight's game could ignite some passion in this series.
And I talked to Quincy Wilson before the game, and one of the things he talked about was, I specifically asked him, what are you looking for from UC from an offensive standpoint, and they are kind of a little bit of a throwback, more conservative, want to play good defense, where State's more like we want to outrun you. We want to keep the ball moving. We want to score. Where I think UC's really wanting to play good, solid defense and ball control, which is the old school kind of way. This is one of those chess matches that you'll see which one plays out, because obviously if State gets up a couple touchdowns, now that changes the dynamics for UC, because you got to catch back up.
And that's what happened last year.
Yes.
State jumped on them early, had a big lead. UC came back, but couldn't come back far enough.
Yeah, because if you're a ball control team and you got to step out of that element and start trying to throw the ball, which is not what you're good at, that's a very difficult task to try to overcome.
This Thursday night, this game in West Virginia and around the country, at least college football is back. I don't know about you, Queen. I'm excited.
I'm very excited. We got some really big games to talk about tonight. Coming up this weekend. Some home ties with Marshall and WU, both playing away. So hopefully we'll get into that discussion and see what we think about what will happen this weekend.
Well, I'm me being the Marshall guy, and and I guess now we can make the case that we're all Marshall folks here at some point. Although Frank has his Penn State roots. I'm really looking for a really good season for Marshall. I don't know if it's going to be great, but I'm looking for a really, really positive season and some really amazing playing from. They've got a quarterback and a receiver that's really pretty special, and I'm really curious of how that's going to show out.
My concern for both West Virginia and Marshall, both are expected to have big seasons. What if it's just a good season and not a great? I mean, if West Virginia, for example, there are a lot of people who think this is 1988 with Major Harris. They can run the table, be in the national championship hunt, and they have that potential. They have a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback. If they go 10-2, is that a good season? I think a lot of Mountaineer fans will be disappointed with any loss.
Right.
If Marshall has a good season but comes out and goes 8-4, I think people will be disappointed.
Right.
I don't know if that's fair, but it's not easy out there.
Well, you mentioned the 1988 season. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly the schedule.
You weren't born. Go ahead and rub it in on us.
Actually, I was. Actually, I was in my second year of college. But
well,
back to my point.
I'm trying to make you feel good.
Back to my point, Frank. I don't know. I can't remember exactly the schedule that they played that year, but I do know that WU has a difficult schedule this year. They've got Power 5 non-conference games, and they're away. You've got Tennessee coming up this weekend, and then you have NC State. So, they don't have a lot of at least 2 games they don't have a cupcake outside of conference.
For both teams, I think that there are games that they can win, and there's some really good teams that they're going to play that they may have a shot at.
Right.
If they get that, then that becomes a great season for them. But more chances than not, they're not going to get all of those wins. I just don't know if the teams are completely. Yes, it really is.
And the problem now with the playoff, both of our in-state schools here are in a situation they can't afford to lose. I mean, Marshall can a non-Power 5 has to run the table.
Yes.
To have a shot at the playoff.
And even then,
and West Virginia in the Big 12. Better run the tape. With a loss, it's tough to get to the 14th. The playoff has changed everything.
Well, is there a reality of running the table for either one of these? I mean, let's just say if we were going to side on the upside for either team, I don't think either one of these teams can actually run the table.
Right now.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone on the best side of it. I don't see any one of these teams being able to be something and I just don't. Maybe one, but it's just so hard to give somebody. It's just so hard to give them a undefeated season.
They could, but it's very hard to do.
Well, I think with Marshall returning 18 seniors, I mean, in perspective, I think they've got a better shot in their conference and the games they play. If they can beat NC State, I think they've got a better shot of going undefeated than WU, just because WU's in the Big 12. And every week, that's a loaded schedule. Not to put down Marshall's conference.
Well, they have to beat NC State and South Carolina.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
South Carolina as well. That's right.
They can't. When you're not, you have to do what UCF did last year. Right. They still didn't get in.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
and it's very difficult.
Right.
With the playoff has changed a lot of the dynamics of what is a good year and what's a bad year. I mean, last year Clemson made the playoff but got beat in the semifinals, and their fans would say, well, disappointment.
Right.
Shouldn't be, but the whole thing has changed now. All right, we'll take a break. Back with more after this.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Dude, how could you pass that up?
Made it a lot tougher on
I
coaches.
couldn't hear what
Yeah.
you guys were discussing, but we kind of covered everything. Just intro, I heard some Marshalls.
Yeah, we got the Marshall WVU stuff out.
Okay, she went to get
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Dude, how could you pass that up?
wrap that one up and move over to their interview.
What are we going to
6:20, 6:30.
Who's first? I forgot.
We can talk more college football here, too. If you
Oh, it's funny. Yeah.
Do
got
you
a lot
want
we
to?
can talk about.
Who's our first guest?
I think Brent Stevens, he said.
Oh,
Doug,
okay.
Doug Card's coming at
All right,
6:20.
Doug
right?
gets, whoever gets here first.
Okay.
If we don't have a guest, we're going to stay college
Buffalo
football?
Wild.
William Shakespeare.
What do you wanna get into the main?
The world's a stage, and men and
Or
women
you wanna
merely
wait on that
play.
till the
Well,
end?
Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen
Okay.
Curry. Yeehaw, the guy who was in the gym every dang day. Patriots say I'm the underdog. The league's most.
Are we sure we're getting those
Bang, knocks it down.
those interviews are coming down?
Mr.
Okay.
Shakespeare.
For the next segment.
Because onto the stage of mere
Doug's
players
coming at
enters the
6:15.
babyface assassin. And he's about to write his own story. Fall back.
SID said she sent it over. Let's see. And she's the one, the cheerleaders will come over.
Here comes Brent.
Okay.
There's Brent.
No matter how bad your circumstances are, with friends and family pricing, you'll get the best deal right up
She
front.
comes, Danny,
We'll
just
do one short segment, then we'll go.
I was rear-ended in my last car deal, and my wallet was pretty dinged up. So I called the firm of Dutch, Miller, and Kia, and they got me the deal I deserved.
For a limited time, get a free 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on select brand new 2016 model Kias.
Call Dutch Miller and Kia today.
All right, welcome back. Dutch Miller Tailgate Show. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie. A lot to talk about here tonight. High school football started last week in West Virginia, and no matter what state you're in, all around the country, there are debates about how high school football has changed. Carl, you've coached collegiately. You've played on all levels. One of the things that came up in West Virginia this week was a discussion about recruiting of athletes in high school. Kids from one school being recruited to go play at another school, or a rival high school type situation. That's a trend nowadays, isn't it?
It really is, and it's one that's actually, I feel like, started in youth football, of kids going to play in other places, parents taking their kids to teams that are more successful or teams where they think their kid could be more successful, and it's a model that just continues to go. It's gone to middle school, now it's gotten to high school, and it's whether it's not a youth football coach telling a mother who he's got a close relationship with this, hey, take your kid to such and such because I think he's going to be better. She trusts him because he's been there for her kid forever. So this process isn't even about just coaches, the high school coaches. This is like people who've had contact or touched these kids from youth football. And as crazy as that sounds, I really think if we could stop it at the youth level, it could possibly be stopped. But I think it is a difficult challenge. I'm not sure, though, calling it out as a coach might be the best way to go about that discussion.
But you do agree that at some level it should be stopped.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the guy who believes that you play for the community that you live in.
Those days are gone, though.
Those days are really gone.
Those were our days.
And there is no, and what's amazing to me, there is no loyalty to where you live.
Right.
You know, and you know, I grew up and our community, we considered it our street, Greenway. You were from Greenway. Where were you from? I'm from Greenway, you know, which was in Spring Hill. You played there. I couldn't imagine. I didn't want to play in South Hills. I didn't want to play in Dunbar. You know, I didn't want to play in Charleston. I wanted to play against those guys. And again, because we talked earlier about the friendships that kind of hurt the rivalries. I know you and you play for Charleston High. I'm gonna come play for Charleston High, which would be our capital now. You know, and it's that easy.
I'm afraid that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think, too, besides the youth football aspect that you've discussed, do you think, too, because back in the day when I think it was the KVC, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. At that time when the KVC was intact, you know, every team every year was productive. You know, there were a few here and there that were weak, but overall, I mean, a DuPont could win one year and then a GW would win the next year. I mean,
they also represent their communities better.
Yes.
Now they're consolidated, not
right,
their area
right.
schools.
I haven't figured out like if I'm a parent and I have a kid that's the quarterback and he's a backup to a senior, the senior leaves, I'm thinking my son's going to be the quarterback, and all of a sudden Frank's kid transfers in and takes over the quarterback position. I'm not sure, as a parent that lives in that community, I'm okay with that.
Speaking of that, and I've got to take a break. One last thought, though. I don't know if you've noticed in the last month, something like 14 or 15 Division I quarterbacks have transferred universities. What's happened is they realize, I'm not going to start. I've lost my starting job, or I'm not going to start, so they're going somewhere else. Quarterbacks especially are transfer risks.
Yes.
Why is that? Is that because there's only one of them?
Because there's one of them, and if I know that you're already better than me, I want to play. And I feel like I was good and I can play somewhere else. Yeah, I can play somewhere.
And we can't, in this state, we can't point too many fingers because West Virginia has a transfer quarterback.
Yes.
Marshall may have a transfer quarterback.
Absolutely.
But I do think, and you may disagree, I think part of it too, I think quarterbacks have bigger egos than the other positions as well.
I agree, but I think the college transfer is a little bit different. It's just a little bit different. Just a little bit different. But I will agree with the ego piece.
Well, don't they kind of have to have a bigger ego? They're kind of looked at as the leader of the team.
It comes naturally.
It comes with the territory.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But but I'm just afraid to make that justifiable down to the high school level. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Let's take a break. Back with more here on the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show after this.
No matter how bad your circumstances are, with friends and family pricing, you'll get the best deal right up front.
I'm not sure if this is an actual.
I was rear-ended in my last car deal, and my wallet was pretty dinged up. So I called the firm of Dutch, Miller, and Kia, and they got me the deal I deserved.
For a limited time, get a free 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on select brand new 2016 model Kias.
Call Dutch Miller and Kia today.
At Dutch Miller Kia, we want to push the envelope even further. Not only will you get friends and family pricing for everyone, but with the purchase of any brand new Kia, you'll also get a free 20-year, 200,000-mile limited powertrain warranty.
For a limited time, save up to $5,000 off MSRP on select 2017 Sorrentos.
Friends and family pricing for everyone, and a free 20-year, 200,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. And the only place you can find those is Dutch Miller Kia.
Knight Rider, protecting the world from high prices.
Hurry up, Kit, we've got to get there.
Get where, Michael? That was insanely vague.
It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, Michael. Locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade.
Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try it for the school play. Annie.
It's a hard knock life.
And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck, Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston. It's Halloween.
All right, welcome back here to the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show tonight. A little college flavor here at UC Stadium in Charleston. The UC Golden Eagles taking on the West Virginia State Yellow Jackets. Frank Gardini, Carl Lee, Lisa Odie, and we're joined now by Dr. Brent Stevens, the athletic director at the University of Charleston. And let me be the first to say congratulations on an incredible year last year. I mean, this time a year ago, you're getting ready to win a men's soccer national championship. Your baseball team's ready to go to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time. You went to the softball World Series a couple of years ago. Great things have been happening here.
Yeah, I think it's all about you hire the right people and they make you look good. So I haven't had to do too much work lately. We have an amazing staff that really, coach up our student athletes, and I'm pretty lucky to get to head that group up.
You've also added men's volleyball and play that at a Division I level, right?
We do, yeah. So our men's volleyball team competes in the EIVA at the Division I level, and we had a winning season last year, so it shows that we can compete with the big boys.
And she's not saying anything. Guess who coached the team last year?
I'm assuming that must be her.
She coached it also.
I'm retired again, though. I'm back to being an AD.
So, I've coached at West Virginia State and coached there for 10 years, and I know part of that whole thing around the athletic director is not just about wins and losses, but it's about the academics. Tell us a little bit about the accolades or the efforts put forth toward the student athletes' academics.
Yeah, so we have, a National Athlete Honor Society that we have a chapter on our campus called Chi Alpha Sigma. Those student athletes have to have a 3.4 or higher to get into that, and we really push that. We also, this past year, in addition to our athletic accolades, we had 78 student athletes that received academic All-American status, and that means they have to have a 3.5 GPA and be at least a junior and a senior. So that says a lot, I think, about our coaches recruiting the right type of people that are a good fit for the University of Charleston.
What did your national championship in men's soccer, what did that do for the campus, the community? I mean, national championships are tough to come by.
They are, and that was just an incredible experience. And I tell you, I wasn't sure how the community would react, and the love that the team received when they got back into town was just tremendous. And we had people lined up for 2 hours at the Town Center Mall to congratulate our guys. And where a lot of them are international students and don't have families here, that meant a lot to them. It really did. That was just an incredible atmosphere.
I would make the case for West Virginia as a whole in our Division II levels to win a national championship in anything is, to me, an amazing thing. And I played football forever and never really won that type of championship. So I commend you and the athletes of the work that has to go in to even reach that kind of level.
Yeah, and we had been in that Final Four for four years, and so not to win it the first 3 times just tells you how hard it is.
Yes.
So it's you can maybe get there to the big dance, but coming away with the national championship title is very difficult to do.
Yeah,
I'll make this prediction. Softball, they were in the Softball World Series a couple of years ago. I'd like to see Carl try to hit against one of your pitchers.
We'll invite him over.
Well, here's the first thing. I can't even hit a softball when it's slow pitch. So if this is fast pitch, I got no shot.
Go ahead, Queen. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was just going to ask you, I know that academics, you have to balance that. Financially, is that a struggle to try to make sure that all your sports get equally funded, or at least funded to the point that they can win those national championships? How big of a job?
Yeah, so our goal is to always fund them so they can at least be in the top 4 within our conference, and so we want them to be very competitive in the conference. We won the Commissioner's Cup again this past year, and so I think that we've been able to do that, but it's a challenge, and you have to get outside funding, and we've been fortunate that we have some great donors here in West Virginia that love the university and have really been supportive of us.
The Commissioner's Cup represents overall excellence.
Right, overall excellence, and we've won it 3 out of the last 5 years. So when I talk about that we have a great coaching staff, I really mean that most sincerely, that they really are committed and do a great job.
Bryn, one thing about athletics, you cannot sit still.
No.
And you guys have not done that. I mean, your facilities have constantly been added to, changed. You have new turf here.
Right.
You've redone everything in the basketball arena and other issues. That's a challenge too, isn't it?
It is, and so our big project we have coming up that we'll break ground on in May is the Welch Athletic Complex, which will be the new home for both soccer teams, for baseball, and for women's lacrosse. So that's a big project that we're undertaking, and that's going to be something great to get our athletes back home on campus.
Baseball last year won a conference championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did. Yeah, conference tournament.
Went to the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
And Dr. Welch has retired, and we have the cheerleaders behind us. He was kind of an honorary cheerleader, wasn't he?
He was, and that was probably his favorite team. He used to tell me all the time, like you can cut some budgets. I could not cut the cheerleading budget. I would be in trouble. So I knew that, right off the bat.
Smart guy.
Yeah, yep.
I got to tell you, when he would go out and join you guys, it was always kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah. He loved it. Yeah, definitely loved it.
You can tell he enjoyed it. Can you guys do something for us?
Let's go, UC! Let's go, UC! Let's
All right.
go, UC!
Good stuff. Bryn's even, Dr. Stevens even clapping here. It's okay to call you Bryn. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And shout out to Jamie Biro, our cheerleading coach.
You really have done a phenomenal job. One of the more underrated people in athletics in our state and the region with what they've done here at the University of Charleston. Not that easy. Not that easy. Those championships don't just happen. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you.
all.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Back with more after this.
Finding the right pizza to agree on isn't easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. All righty.
Grab that in for me.
I don't know if y'all want to mention
Grab that in.
Yeah.
I wrote some stuff about it too. What happened? Do you hear?
We on, Frank?
He got shot like 7 times.
How are you, bro?
And I think, I think you.
Somebody.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
It's a dirty deal.
Yeah.
He was. But
Nothing broken.
Keeping in sports, staying in sports, and staying.
How are you,
Get
Doug?
the discipline that sports bring. That's kind of how you feel. Because
Coaches teach your kids to dream.
Right.
And
Coaches teach your kids to overcome. Coaches teach your kids good sportsmanship.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Coaches teach your kids proper technique.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say
But
too.
who
And then you
teaches
get out
your
of Virginia,
coaches?
and now you're probably in a crowd that don't know you.
Yeah.
And to get shot 7 times. Okay, so.
Something's
something's
wrong.
happening.
Right.
Olive Garden delivers the final moments. Bring home Italian favorites and they'll cheer for you on game day. Olive Garden is the official dining room of high school sports, and with the new catering delivery service, you never have to miss a moment.
That's mine.
Pasta lovers, raise your forks. It's Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl starting at $9.99. Enjoy endless
Halfway home, no
combinations of
rain.
your favorite pastas, sauces, and toppings.
There's no rain.
Hey, look.
I know, it's
Look.
right.
You should never say that.
No.
Jinx.
Yeah. Now if it rains, you going to take all the
let
heat.
me tell you this. This magical umbrella, wherever I take it, it never rains.
Okay.
It's magical.
All right, you're flirting with it.
Now you can create your own tour of Italy from Olive Garden's most
We'll be all right.
This is like the golf course that never rains.
That's right. That's right.
10 classic favorites to enjoy.
Yeah, but you know the
I'll
reality
take
of
it.
a golf course.
Yeah.
You're just going to. That just means you're going to play.
A meal of pasta like irresistible tortellini al forno and a classic like creamy fettuccine alfredo. Plus unlimited salad and freshly baked breadsticks, because the best tour of Italy is the one you create. Only at Olive Garden. We're all family here. Breadstick lovers, your new favorite lunches here. Breadstick sandwiches.
And welcome back. Dutch Miller Tailgate Show tonight from UC Stadium here in Charleston at the University of Charleston. Golden Eagles, the home team, taking on the Yellow Jackets of West Virginia State. Both, of course, from the same county, only a few miles apart. And with us, the director of Laidley Field here, the manager of Laidley Field, Doug Cart. I call it Laidley Field. It tells you how old I am.
Well,
it's UC Stadium now, right?
Yes, sir, it is. But us old people, it will always be Laidley Field.
Well, it even says on your shirt
Yeah.
under UC Stadium, Laidley Field.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you've been around Charleston at all, you know this guy. He's been everywhere all of my life at the old Morris Harvey events,
Yes,
and
sir.
now University of Charleston events.
Yes, sir.
That's your alma mater, right?
Yes, sir, it is. I graduated in '72.
How much of a labor of love is this for you?
This is a dream come true, becoming the stadium manager here, and also it being the University of Charleston Stadium. It brings back a lot of memories for me.
How challenging, though? I think most people could probably look at your job and say, okay, well, he just kind of has to oversee it and everything gets taken care of. It's got to be, and I've seen you on some youth football Sundays, it's got to be crazier than what most people think it is.
I don't think, I don't think a lot of people understand how well used this stadium is used. It goes about 7 days a week.
wow.
We do 42 track meets plus the state track meet. We do about 25 junior high and high school football games, 6 college games. Midgets, we do 6 Sundays every Sunday. There's 4 games every Sunday, plus practices every day, and that includes track practice a lot of times too.
Well, when we got here tonight, Capital High School cross country team was practicing. These teams were kind of getting loose. Practices how many teams for Capital High School practice here? All practices here.
University of Charleston, Horseman Middle School, and Capital. And sometimes Stonewall, which this is their home field, will come down and practice too.
Stonewall Middle
School.
And it used to be, back in the old days, it used to be more than that. I mean, turf is brand new. How proud of you of that?
I think it's a dream come true, especially for this stadium, to have brand new turf. It's only about 3 weeks old now. Now, if we can just, and we have new lights. They were about 4 years old now. We are now at a new scoreboard. It was put up in May. Now all we're working on now is a new track.
Is there any idea of like that being a possibility or a prediction of like how long it will take to get that? Because to me that's a really big deal, because now I mean the track I think is a critical component for whether it be training, but for the track meets themselves.
It's probably one of the most critical things that we have to work on right now. I'm working on it, hoping by next summer. I'm looking for financing to help. It's a very expensive piece of property that we got to work on.
Would you feel fast on this turf, Carl? Quinn, what do you think? Could Carl be faster on this turf?
I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say.
I know this. You could get the newest track, find the finest surface, and he wouldn't be faster on the track.
I don't know about now.
Well, let me make this very clear. Faster is not in my mindset anymore. If I could just get the distance in, I'm okay. Fast is not an issue.
How excited are you for this event tonight?
Oh, I think it's a great event. Being a hometown boy, you see State and UC, these are almost like the old days of the Stonewall Charleston High games.
Oh, yes.
That's a good comparison there.
Wow.
Yes.
I was just going to say, now that you reminisce back to that, what are some of your favorite moments that stand out to you in anything that goes on down here since you've been working here?
I've learned a lot about football. I'm a retired basketball official.
Really?
And so football was not, I've learned so much about football. I think one of the greatest events that we've had so far here is last summer we had the Nitro Circus here. And if anybody ever saw these people on TV or watched them do bikes and tricks off of those ramps, it was phenomenal.
Wow.
See, Carl thinks you're talking about like Nitro High School cheerleading team or something. He thinks it's...
See, this is the abuse that I get on the show all the time, so just ignore it.
I've heard that was a tremendous show.
Yeah.
I remember, do you remember the old stadium?
Yes, sir. I remember the old.
I mean, you would get to, back in those days, you had Charleston High, Stonewall, GW, all playing here as well as the junior highs.
I was going to say, and the junior high.
And by October, the grass was basically gone, right, Doug?
This stadium needed turf as much as it's used. It's used 7 days a week.
Right.
So it really needed it. And with the help of the University of Charleston, that's how it got put down.
And what's interesting to me is there are a lot of turf fields in and around the area, and I know some of them you can't get on because you got to, there's charges you can't, and I'm not sure if that's the right model. And I know most people can come here, they can kind of get out here and do it. Now, if you do an organized event, that's another thing. But just somebody coming out to, run on the field, or I used to train here all the time, and there was no charge. You could get out on the turf, you could do whatever you want. What's your thoughts about that?
We were basically open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4 for people to run the track, walk. One of the big things is the people like to run the steps.
Not me.
I think Carl was spotted down here just about a week ago, right?
I bet you Carl's done it.
He's going to make a big
I've done it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are people that will come down and some of the just to work out and try to better themselves and work on the turf.
See, I like the idea of it being something that's actually accessible to people in the public, and you can just come out and just do what you. I mean, it's here, and you're not messing up anything.
That doesn't happen everywhere, Doug.
No.
I mean, we're fortunate in our city that we have responsible citizens who will take care of it.
Yeah.
And then you guys will do that. You're a Morris Harvey University of Charleston alum. How proud are you of what's happened athletically there?
I'm ecstatic, and when all this turf got down, I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys that I went to college with, and I keep sending them pictures and texting them, showing, look, not only is there football, look at the new turf.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's nice. I was out on it last weekend, or was it 2 weekends ago?
Yeah.
And it's really, really nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
It's the best turf out right now.
You go back to the Rich McFessel, Bobby Wesley, Henry Dickerson basketball days, right?
Yes, sir. That's when I was. I still keep in touch with Henry. We still are close friends. You know, those college days, you don't remember. You don't forget your friends there.
Jim Fountain, who you know, played there.
Yes.
The Queen knows Jim. Played there also. I mean, back in those days, Morris Harvey was made up of mostly all in-state players. Jim Hayes from Herbert Hoover, other guys, a lot of good players. Doug, have a great year. Thank for
you all
everything you guys do.
Thanks for being on.
Doug Cart with us here from University of Charleston Stadium. Let's take a break. Back with more after this.
At Dutch Miller Kia,
Thank
we're
you.
going to push the envelope even further. Not only will you get friends and family pricing for everyone, but with the purchase of any brand new Kia, you'll also get a free 20-year, 200,000-mile limited powertrain warranty.
For a limited time, save up to $5,000 off MSRP on select 2017 Sorrentos.
Friends and family pricing for everyone, and a free 20-year, 200,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. The only place you can find both is at Dutch Miller Kia.
Knight Rider, protecting the world from high prices. Hurry up, kid, we've got to get there.
Get where, Michael? That was insanely vague.
It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade.
Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try it for the school play. Annie.
It's a hard knock life.
And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston. It's Halloween season, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Dress up my favorite pirate costume and go trick-or-treating. Arr, dang it. Binge eat all the pumpkin spice beef jerky in the house. Pumpkin spice. And throw all my candy in my brand new truck, Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
During Ram Power Days, check out the 2017 Ram 1500 Quad Express V6 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
Welcome back. Dutch Miller Tailgate Show here at UC Stadium in Charleston. Frank Gardenia, Carl Lee, Lisa Odie, and Dana Farrell, our producer, with us now as we kind of bounce around, talk a little high school football around our state. Week 2 starting tonight. Let's look back at week 1, first of all, Dana. Any surprises to you last week?
Well, one of them we were at. I thought South Charleston, as much as they struggled to put forward an offense last year, even though they did squeak into the playoffs, they put 30 points on the board against a good GW team last week. So even though they lost that game, I think for them that had to be encouraging. Some others I thought another big surprise was up north, John Marshall coming out of the gates, and I think it was a 35-28 final up there at John Marshall, beating University, who was a playoff team, and I think a team that a lot of people looked at being a playoff team again this year, and probably still will be. So that was one I think that caught a lot of attention.
What else did we learn from the first week, you think?
Well, like Dana said, we were at the South Charleston game. I felt like what South Charleston discovered about themselves is, and they're not able to play a full game, whether that's conditioning or whether that's mental. and they have a tough road ahead of them that could really put them in a major divide within the next 4 games. So to me, I'm looking at how South Charleston rebounds and get it. They have to get some kind of win, or they got to play at a level that's going to be respectful to where you could say, oh, okay, maybe they're getting better and they might win one of these next 3
games. I
games.
agree with you. I think tomorrow night's going to be interesting to watch that score. Even if they can't win, they've got to play respectable against a good Capital High team that went to Kentucky last week and beat a good team. And so they're coming in, the Cougars are looking to go 2-0 and get off to a great start. So South Charleston's really got to stand up tall tomorrow night in that contest.
I'll make this prediction based on what we saw in the first week. The best game of the year this year will be the AA championship game between Bluefield and Fairmont Senior.
Bluefield and Fairmont Senior.
Bluefield and Fairmont Senior. Write that down. That'll be the best game of the year.
Just so that we know, just to change the subject. I just got hit in the back of the head by Coach Pruitt, Bob Pruitt.
in sports,
I saw him.
If that had happened in a game, he'd been yelling for a flag, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought maybe you got hit by
kind of knocks some sense into you.
An errant pass. I was going to say, well, as usual, he didn't catch it.
He didn't.
See, why do I have to have this abuse? This was about me being abused. He adds to it.
Well, there's a reason that DBs are not wide receivers,
That's right?
And did not get flagged.
What does that even mean, though? Can't you still be okay defensive back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't be a show.
I know.
At least your fair share of abuse. You know that.
I guess that's how you all have shaped it anyway.
You're the all-pro. You have the thick skin. You have the credentials.
Who says I have the thick? Dana, is that part of my resume that he has thick skin? Maybe I'm really soft-hearted.
You have the thick resume.
Okay.
Speaking of all-pro, in the NFL with a local twist, Charleston native, former GW player Ryan Switzer, traded before the season was started by the Raiders to the Steelers. Second time he's been moved in about the last 6 or 7 months. Happens to young players. The big positive thing for a lot of people is they're excited because he's kind of coming back to the region. But I look at it from a football standpoint. It seems to be a good move football-wise. What do you think, Carl?
Well, and there's been some talk around Pittsburgh needing a true kick returner, whether it be punt and kickoffs. He is that guy. They may have he may not win a job right away in the slot, but what can happen is he can now be their designated kick and punt returner, and he does that really, really well. So I think Pittsburgh is a perfect location for him. And I say, the argument around him being moved, I think he's just that guy that that he just has to fit at the right position at the right time. And if he finds that right team, he'll play. I think he's good enough to play.
That's interesting. I wanted to get your take on that. I wonder, what were your thoughts about the trade here at the last minute like that take place?
Well, part of it too, there was conversation. What I've heard is that there was conversation that he may not make the roster with the Raiders. So.
Well, they brought in some other guys like him.
Yes, and so and those guys were dual players where he hadn't developed himself yet into that dual guy. Pittsburgh was in need of a punt return, kick return guy.
So this is a good move.
So this becomes even a better move for him because he is specifically now doing something that he's good at and a team actually needs.
Right. Yeah,
great take.
Right, he'll definitely be an immediate special teams boost for the Steelers, I believe, because of what you said. They have a lack of people for that position, and as a rookie, I don't know if you know this, but he was tied for 13th in the NFL, averaging 25 yards per kick return. So that's pretty good.
And I think that's a stat that I wouldn't know, but that's the effectiveness that he's having that we as a public wouldn't know.
No.
So we just hear, he got traded, he got this, and and we just assume, well, it's not going to be long, he won't be in long. No, this is a kid that can play on the NFL level, and as those numbers reflect, as a rookie, he was a quality player, an effective player for a team on special teams.
Well, the other thing it points out to me is, fellas, it's a tough business.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
You go to Dallas as a rookie, and you're having a pretty good year, but Still, they get rid of you. Then you go to Oakland. All right, you regroup, you relocate, you get married, move your family there. You're ready to make a contribution there with a new coach. Whoop! Before the season starts.
You didn't have to deal with that, though, right?
Now you're traded. I mean, it's a tough business.
And people don't realize that piece of uncertainty that you live with every camp, and even in through the season. You just never know what a Monday's going to bring you.
Well, like you said, he obviously has a better opportunity. And I'm just looking at last week we were looking at the NFL Power Rankings. He went from a team ESPN had ranked at 19 to a team that's number 3 coming into the season. So, and if he has a spot where he can fit in a good niche. And this is a 2-time West Virginia Kennedy Award winner, played on this field right here behind us, and starred in every way, and led his team up to the Super 6 state championship. I think lost to Martinsburg in a tough game up there. So kudos to Ryan Switzer.
The other thing it points out is it's tough to stick with a club, and every week, Carl, on the sideline are guys that are brought to town ready to take your job.
Absolutely, and wanting to take it.
And if you're not established, it's not easy.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that he just hasn't had a chance to do yet is establish himself at really being good at something that everybody's going to be like, okay, he's our guy at this position. And I think once he gets there, I think he'll be fine. The clock's ticking on him, obviously, because, like you said, there's new players coming in all the time. I think this is a good move for him, and I really think he's going to be able to make it.
At least he's close to home now.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
if he had to be moved, at least he's closer.
Yeah.
One last thought before we get off the subject. I think it's easier for him to step in as a return guy because he can dive into the playbook as a receiver, but it still takes a while.
Yes, he can do that in a couple. He can do that by the end of the season. They get into playoffs, guy go down, he'll be ready to go.
As a return guy, he can step in
right now.
Away.
Yes.
So let's hope it goes well for him. Great young man, so we'll see what happens. All right, we'll take another break. Back with more after this.
These swings are perfect. They can do no wrong. This mac and cheese blanket itself.
I must have. But you did see it though, right? Okay, so I think I got a suit. Do I have a lawsuit, maybe?
How much time do you want us to go here?
Hit me in the head. I mean, I got all these head injuries already. I think I got a potential suit going. I don't know where he went.
Just cause it don't look like a restaurant.
Oh, he's all the way down to the far end.
Okay.
Dude, it's midnight.
I wonder what brings him here.
24/7.
Got a kid. I wonder what brings Pruitt here.
Time to cook up
Somebody
some.
might have to speak to it.
Oh no, she didn't.
And she had the nerve to speak to me.
Mac and cheese for me.
Touch the screen. Get the awesome food.
Okay. What are we doing this?
This is a SCTV net.
Can they see it?
I don't know if they can see it or
They
not.
can't tell what it is. Your boys couldn't keep
You know, the Greek philosopher Aristotle said, you are what you repeatedly do. But in our book, we say you are what you repeatedly do when things get hard. When you look at the naysayers and the haters, and there's a million of them, but you take it upon yourself to erase all doubt. Get that doubt out of here. So my apologies to Aristotle. But excellence doesn't become a habit by running the same path over and over. The excellent ones just step up to the line and ask, what's the record? Under Armour, get your feet
Hi,
straight.
I'm Lisa.
You're watching a
Nice to meet
SCTV
you.
network.
Yeah. Get ready for Shepherd. Heading out on Saturday morning. Now the trash talk. Yeah, I drive up on Saturday.
Oh, is he coming?
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players. But Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen Curry. Ni-hao, the guy who's in the gym every damn day. Patron saint of the underdog, the league's most unguardable player. So my apologies to Mr. Shakespeare, because onto the stage of mere players enters the babyface assassin. And he's about to write his own story.
Goodness.
Fall back.
DG's Construction is your first.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. I said, I wonder what brought him here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a good ball game, you know. Heard you had a beautiful lady up here with you. I can't believe you sat beside it that long.
See, why is it that everybody who knows me talks about me?
Hey, now, I don't want to warn you or anything, but when he was at Marshall, he was known for having Roman hands and Russian fingers. I don't know what that meant.
Get out of here. We're coming on air.
All right, welcome back, Dutch Miller Tailgate Show, where it's getting a little rough here, getting a little rough on the All-Pro. Welcome back, Frank Gardenia, Carl Lee, Lisa Odie. Bob Pruitt has joined us, former Thundering Herd head football coach. Carl's bragging over here about what a good coach he made you. I thought it was kind of the other way around.
Well, he was a defensive back, and I made a tailback out of him. I told him to get his tailback on the bench.
Let me make this very clear. I have yet to figure out, like, how come, like, you know, coaches are supposed to be this great influence on you. This is who I have to be influence me. How does that really work?
Oh, that's awesome.
I tell you what,
it worked out pretty well for you.
Well, yeah, I guess I can say that.
He was a great player. Not a good player. He was a great player. I was lucky to have the privilege of coaching him. He had everything you needed. He had speed. He had really quick feet. He would really come up and hit you. But the best thing he had was he was a really smart football player. I mean, he understood what we was trying to do. He studied the game, and him and he had just got him 12 years in the NFL.
I remember
that's probably the best thing I've heard since I've been on the show. Right?
Are you happy?
I'm happy. I got a positive.
Well, I still remember when Bob was an assistant coach at Marshall, coaching the secondary, and before the start of the season, there was an event, and everyone was talking about their unit. Well, we got to do this, we got to do that. We're young, we got to do this. Bob stood up and talked about you guys, and after he was over, he said, "We got the best secondary in the Southern Conference." And I was crazy. I believed him. I said, "We got the best secondary in the Southern Conference." And sure enough, it was pretty good.
And you know, and I'll say this: there's a difference in what coaching can do. My rookie year, we had a coach, and I wouldn't give his name, and that was a defensive back coach that really wasn't inspiring, wasn't positive, wasn't, you know.
He didn't baby Carl.
No, he did. You didn't get babied.
And so once in my second year, and coach came and became the secondary coach, it was different because all of a sudden you felt somebody teaching you and talking to you and explaining things to you to where you could get it. You know, to his point, if I was a smart football player, part of that has to be able to there's got to be a teacher to be able to get you to grasp all that. And we don't typically say a lot of good things about each other, especially when we're in each other's company. But I really feel coaching and who that coach is, and that's why it doesn't surprise me when he became the head football coach how successful that football team became. Because he just has that ability to connect with his players, and he cares about them.
Bob, there's a lot of West Virginia guys out there coaching, making big names for themselves. And we know who they are. Of course, Nick Saban is top of the list. What does that say about our state?
Well, Carl will tell you this, and you know me. When I was a college football coach, I always came back to West Virginia to recruit the players, mainly because I wanted. When I was in Florida, I came here. When I was at Ole Miss, Tulane, Wake Forest, Virginia, I always came back because I wanted this. If a school from out of state came in and saw one of our state kids, it would get the people in here in the state excited. And we tried to recruit. The year we were 9th in the country or 10th in the country in '99, I think we had 45 kids on our top 85 from the state of West Virginia. And I believe that you recruit as many kids as you can from your state because they care. They have to go home and defend what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they defend the school, so they try harder and they care. And what we couldn't find there, we certainly went somewhere else and tried to find them. But we looked here first. And I think our state, our football is getting better every year. It's getting better every year, especially in southern West Virginia. You look at, well, just down on our end of the county, you got Valley, Cabell Midland, and Huntington High, and then you got right up here at GW and all and Capital. I mean, they're in the mix every year. South Charleston, so it's really tough. It's tough to come out of this district down here and be a champion.
The one thing I'm not sure you used to see were big linemen. You're certainly seeing them now.
Well, I think that one of those chicken companies brought some steroids in here and fed their chickens, and the players are getting it. Because there's so many there's 2 great linemen, one at Spring Valley and one at Huntington High, and they're monsters.
Yeah.
Going to Ohio State, and I don't think the other kids from Huntington's decided, but he can go wherever he wants to.
We're in the national anthem right now. We want to take a break, or we'll cover it for a minute.
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players. But Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen Curry. Ni hao, the guy who was in the gym every dang day. Patron saint of the underdog, the league's most unguardable player. Bang, he knocks it down. So my apologies to Mr. Shakespeare, because onto the stage of mere players enters the babyface assassin. And he's about to write his own story. Fall back.
DG's Construction is your first call.
Bob, how refreshing is it for you to be able to just get out and watch a get out and watch a game from time to time?
Well, the last time I saw West Virginia State play a football game is we played them at Marshall.
And I was coaching.
Yeah. Now, I tried to get Carl to come and coach with me.
Yes, several times.
Several times. I think he was a fabulous coach and a role model for our players. And I think he said, when I was talking to him, he said, what's the most positive thing that you can say to get me to come and coach for you? And I said, well, I'm positive you stay where you are. You won't regret not coming.
But here's why I'll say why I didn't go.
This would be good.
Because I had that question was just right. You knew I was going to ask that, right? Why didn't you go?
You know, I've told people that I had those offers. But what had happened was once I connected with the kids that were at State, I knew him. I knew what his staff would do for those kids. And so State wasn't so much about me. It was more about the kids that I had already encountered. And I hate to say this like kind of out there publicly, but I couldn't leave those guys after I had already promised them that I would see them through that process. Because, as you know, when football programs are not winning and the school's not behind it, kids get thrown out. And I just couldn't, once I touched those kids, I couldn't let them go. And I would have loved, if I wasn't doing anything else, I would have been there in a heartbeat. But I just couldn't leave State because I had already connected with those guys.
Well, that's exactly what he told me. That's not something he made up. Of course, he's known to make up stuff, but in all actuality, that is the truth. That's one of the only times it might be, but that happens to be the truth.
Bob, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming by. Bob Pruitt with us.
And let's make sure we don't have him back.
Let's see, he brings us a gift. We'll take a break back to wrap things up after this.
I didn't even get to ask him a question, man.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Hit me next time. Just smack me next time.
Oh, it's fine. I was just going to ask him. It's all right. I'll catch you next time.
No, we're just doing it. We're doing let's do high school.
What are we doing now?
It's just like a pregame.
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players. But Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen Curry. Ni hao, the guy who was in the gym every dang day. Patron saint of the underdog, the league's most unguardable player. Bang, he knocks it down. So my apologies to Mr. Shakespeare, because onto the stage of mere players enters the babyface assassin.
Do a short rap here.
And he's about to write his own story. Fall back.
DG's Construction.
Well, typical. 30 seconds. Okay.
They got
30
He's
seconds.
got to be able to be really competitive like they've been in the past. He can't afford to lose a couple of games and think it's okay. I hope.
I went down
Yes.
I went down and watched them one day. And,
3.
Here we go.
welcome back to UC Stadium here at the University of Charleston. Frank Gardenia, Carl Lee Sodi, kind of wrapping things up now for tonight's college game. West Virginia State, the road team, taking on the University of Charleston. Any picks for this game, fellas?
I know we're at UC Stadium, but I coach at the State and kind of have my loyalties there. I'm going to go with State. I just think they're going to be too fast for the conservative offense that I think that UC has.
What do you think, Queen?
Well, I got it from a pretty reliable source that State will win tonight. He was pretty confident, put it that way. And with all the athleticism with their team, I really feel like they'll probably pull out the win tonight.
Last year, the Yellow Jackets won in Institute. I think they win again tonight. Now, WVU and Marshall this weekend. Marshall on the road at Miami. What's your pick?
I'm going to stay with Marshall on that one. I think Marshall's going to get out of the chute pretty quick, and I think they're ready to make a good run. I'm not going to say a great one, but a really good run.
What do you think, Queen?
Well, they're on the road, which is always tricky, that first game. If they can stop Miami's offense, I feel like Marshall's got to really – and get their offense going, I feel like they got a pretty good shot of winning it.
So you're picking them?
I'm picking them.
I think it's close. I think Marshall wins a close one. West Virginia, Tennessee, neutral game in Charlotte. Mountaineers may have more fans there. I think West Virginia is going to win big. I like the Mountaineers, not big, but comfortably.
I'm gonna side with West Virginia just simply because I don't really know that much about Tennessee and
Tennessee's down.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna side on the side of WVU again because I think they got great quarterback play.
Yeah, the Volunteers are definitely rebuilding. They have a new head coach this year. They got a lot of changes. I'm going to go with the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun weekend for fans in our state. All right, we're done here. Join us next week for the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show.
Is that it?
That's it, I guess.
Okay.
You're watching a SCTV.
What's happening?
Oh, no, Harry Wallace. How you getting along?
I'm hanging in there.
I'll tell you what, keep him alive.
He's hard to. He's hard to. He is hard. He's hard to manage.
You don't need any help there, do you, Papa?
I'm all right. I told you the magic umbrella would work.
Yeah, it held out.
I'll bring it every show. There's a chance of rain. That was a good shot.